is it the case that you have clickable links in the PowerPoint? So if people want to go back and see whatever you have linked to, they'll be able to click and go.
Yes, so this is the link. So I just moved move down. So to subscribe and download, click on, go to conflictyes.com/mediators. There'll be a sign up form. And once you confirm your email, you will get a link, and it's not a PowerPoint, it's a Google Doc with hot links that you can download as a PDF or a PowerPoint, and then you can click and learn about all these things that we haven't covered because we didn't have time. So by all means. Yep. And so now I'll take your questions. I'll leave this up here, but I will answer questions for the rest of the breakfast.
Richard Lutringer has had his hand up for a while.
No, Lou Blanchard was before Richard, I think, but anyway.
Okay, Lou and then Richard.
I don't want to fight. Okay, so you did answer one of the questions on the sending out the notices. The other one was, can you set up a reminder to go out like a day ahead of time? So you've got the meeting all set up, and can a reminder be set up also to, or do you?
Of course. Yeah. Okay. And the reminder can be more of a technical document like, here are the links again, or you can just take the invite and paste it into your own email that says, looking forward to seeing you, here are the rules of the road, here's the technical login info, and so on.
Thank you.
And Richard. Richard Lutringer.
Needs to be unmuted.
Okay, hi.
Hi.
My question is, at the bottom of my strip, I have an icon invite. I'm a participant. Can any participant invite anyone else into the room?
Yes, it's possible if we allow that to happen. We can turn that off, I think.
Okay, but right now it's on, so I
Right now it's
could.
on. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
And you can also, Richard, lock the meeting. As the host, I can lock the meeting, and that prevents anyone else from joining the meeting. We haven't done that because people are coming in and Nikki's letting them in. But in a mediation, you can just lock it once you have everyone there, and then no one else can join.
Noah Hampton, I think, is next on the list.
Noah?
Noah, you may need to unmute.
Unmute yourself. Okay.
He's unmuted. No, go ahead.
Okay, sorry, thank you. Quick question, when you're moving into a breakout room as a mediator, I know there is, but what is the mechanism for letting people know in advance that you're about to come in?
That you're about to come in, you can send them a message in the breakout room saying, I'm about to, may I join you?
Okay, I thought there was a ring or something that you can, like.
A chime. Yeah, you can do the chime, but the chime won't accomplish what you're describing. I think what you want is you want to give people the privacy to discuss something, and then you want to join them like you would like knock on the door type of thing.
Yeah, door knock, that's it.
Yeah, door knock. They actually don't have the door knock function, but I understand they're working on it. But you can send everyone a message. You can't send a message to only one group, but you can currently send a public message saying, I'm about to enter the group, let's say of group 1, or I'm about to enter the plaintiff's room. Is that okay? And then you would have to let them know ahead of time, but that's how you'd want to run it.
Great.
Alex, I just wanted to jump in and say we'll try and answer, I think, the questions in the order that your hands are raised, and we'll proceed like that. And then also to Noah's point, this has come up a lot, and I think it's important to say that we've been using a lot of, JAMS at least, a lot of different modalities. So in addition to being on a Zoom mediation or arbitration, we also have all of the participants' text or WhatsApp numbers, so you can kind of virtually knock through that different channel, because you might not always want everybody to know that you're going into different rooms.
Right.
Okay, Cheryl Agris.
Yes. Question that I have is with respect to sharing documents. I know you touched on it very briefly before, but an issue, is I want to make sure that only one party sees the document, and what's to stop, say, I only want party A to see the document, but what if party A, somehow got another individual C into the room? How do I, prevent, know that won't be happening? Because you know, that, you know, that is an issue that's arisen with, you know, parties, like, for example, have a situation where there's mediation between party A and party B, and party A only wants party B to see it, but not individual C to see it.
Yeah, so if there are concerns like that, you want to outline them ahead of time and think about how you want to manage that document. And maybe in that context, sharing the screen isn't useful. What would be useful is having a document that you are sharing directly with that person's email account, like a Google Doc, and then that person sees it on their screen, but you're not using Zoom for that. You're using Google Doc, or you can use maybe Microsoft to share it or some other way.
Right. But even there, if you're sharing it with Google Doc, what's to stop that party from sharing it with party C, even for a limited time? You know, they could easily, you know,
But
send it. You
I
see
think
what
you
I
have
mean?
that same problem whether you're virtual or in person.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. Well, sort of, because if you're in person, you just, if I'm in the room with party B, I can kind of control access and just say, okay, you look at this document, and I'm staring at them looking at it and making sure they're not taking a picture of it.
yeah, so that's a theoretical concern. I can tell you that from the mediators that I've spoken to who do this, that's not an issue for them, as long
I
as people
see.
follow the rules.
I see, but what do they do then to prevent that, though?
They put it in the agreement that these are the rules you abide by.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's something to think about. All right.
Okay, Henry?
Harry.
Henry?
Harry.
Harry, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I had two questions. One had to do with the agreement to mediate now that we're in this new world and there's new concerns and things they have to do. And the second question has to do with the use of a whiteboard, either real or virtual.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so Zoom has a whiteboard feature, and so you can definitely use that. You can also have a real one, but it's easier to use a virtual one. It might be easier to do it if you have an iPad because you have a pencil, you can actually draw on it than doing it with a mouse. But people do it all the time, sure. And you can save the whiteboard. You can actually download a picture of it in Zoom, so you can memorialize that.
And the agreement to mediate, a new agreement to mediate for this new world we're in?
Yeah, what about it?
Well, I would think there's new things that you would want people to understand and agree to. For instance, not having other people in the room,
Right.
You know, that kind of thing.
Absolutely.
Are
And
there
you
any templates or anything out there that we can refer to?
Yeah, so I don't have a template. I know that there's a mediator by the name of Susan Guthrie who runs a training for, I don't know what she charges, but she offers that, something that she created for her students as a licensed product.
Okay, thanks.
All right, Terry Riker, we have 2 minutes, and then Rebecca Ratliff, and that may do it.
Just quick,
Alex, where are we on your ability personally to stay beyond 10 and the Zoom allowing us to stay beyond 10?
Zoom will allow us, and I will stay beyond 10 to answer as many questions as people would like.
All right, Terry Riker.
my question is, I would like to know, you had between 250 and 300 some odd people on this call. Can you create a list? Do you have access to a permanent list of who was on the call?
Do I? Yeah, I have access to that.
Through Zoom. I thought
Through
there was,
Zoom. Zoom has a list. I can do a report. I will do a report of everyone who's registered.
and that's going into the Zoom feature for a report. Is that what you're saying?
Zoom offers that as a reporting feature, yes.
I see. Thank you.
And Rebecca Ratliff. Unmute.
Yeah, muted.
Hi, thank you. Alex, I was wondering, what was it that you suggested that we download in the desktop? I forget what it would enable. Download something in the desktop.
You go to
It was when you were going over the Zoom flavors.
Yep. You go to zoom.us and there search for download Zoom. And Zoom will know if you have an iPhone or an iPad or a Windows machine, it'll know which app to help you download. And once you have that, you have these other features that will allow you to upload a background, etc.
That wasn't it.
Oh.
It might have been the background, I know, but it was something you were specifically, it was around the time that you were talking about how you schedule meetings on the web, you launch meetings on the desktop, and you participate. But it was something that you have to download on the desktop to enable some capability, and I don't.
That was it. It's the desktop version of Zoom.
It's the desktop client.
That's it. That was it.
I didn't want to use
Thank
that
you.
word because
That was it. That's what I was looking for. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. I'm like, no, that's it. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, Jill Sternberg.
Unmute yourself. Okay.
Jill?
Hi,
Right.
am I unmuted?
Yes.
I can hear you.
Yeah, yeah, I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about the actual adjustments that you make in the mediation process, moving from in-person to online.
Yeah.
So the actual process of doing the mediation.
So the biggest adjustment is anticipatory guidance. You know, people know what it's like to show up in a room at a certain time. They know that they need to, if you're in a building, to show ID to the security guard and so on. But people don't know what it's like to have a Zoom experience. So it might be helpful to do a dry run, just to log on, to test the technology. It's helpful to let them know what to expect and what it means and answer their questions. And to know that it's okay, we'll explore this with good humor. And if something doesn't work, we'll have fun with it and it's not a big deal. And then once people get past that initial sense of I don't quite know where I am and they get used to where they are, then they forget the whole thing. Once they know how to unmute themselves, then they'll just unmute themselves and it becomes less of an issue. And I'm sure that you're finding yourselves as well when those of you who ask questions, the first time you looked at an unmute button, you kind of searched around a little bit, but the second time it comes naturally to you. And that's how I find people are with Zoom all the time or any technology. So
Susan
the mediation becomes
Meyerberg.
transparent.
Oh, Susan Meyerberg.
Hi, thank you. During the call today, Alex, and thank you for the call. Oh, it says I cannot unmute myself because the host muted me.
No,
We hear you.
Okay. Why does it say that?
I think it
We
may be.
unmuted you so you could participate.
Oh, okay. You cannot unmute yourself. Oh, I can't. All right.
What's your question?
During my question, thank you. During the call, instead of the active speaker screen, it was stuck on another screen for a while. What did I do to make that happen? It corrected itself, but I don't know how I did that.
I'm glad that it did. I'm glad it worked out.
Susan, we call those gremlins.
Thank you.
Elon. Oh, sorry, Steve Marshall.
Yes. Alex, first off, thank you for a great presentation. Just going back to the Zoom desktop client, if you have Zoom for desktop loaded on your computer, how do you integrate desktop clients so you can get the various backgrounds that you showed us?
There is, under the settings, if there's a little wheel that's there, and if you click it, you will see a whole bunch of settings, including backgrounds, video and backgrounds.
Okay, this will go on. Elon Weinreb.
One point that I just wanted to make about what we were talking about with documents that you may want not other people to see at a time. I had this come up in a mediation where I was using two separate decision trees for the two sides to give them a reality check. And I did not want defendant to see plaintiff's decision tree and vice versa. So what I did was I password protected both versions of the documents so that when I would have each one come up, I would be required to actually put in the password to correspond to the right document to double check myself so that one document for one side didn't go to the other side. Potentially speaking, you could do that with other people. It won't solve the problem of someone being in the room and looking over someone's shoulder or anything like that. But if you establish in advance that with documents that are specific to a side, you have to have a password put in before, whether you're using it or whether the other side is going to be using it on their machine, if you decide to transfer it over, it's a possible way of mitigating any sort of improper information sharing.
Great, thank you, Alon. Great.
Okay, I just want to say that the meeting is officially over, but Alex has been nice enough to say he'll stay on. We can keep taking questions, but we understand if the numbers go down, if you have to get on with, you know, your third cup of coffee or whatever. Wade Cohen. Wade,
Can you hear me?
Yes.
yeah, now we
Okay,
can.
good. Earlier, I noticed that Matthew's image was the screen and not this back and forth like is happening now. And I'm wondering, how did you make that happen and fix it? Obviously, when I messaged in, someone fixed it.
Okay, this is Matthew speaking. So actually what I did, I actually went into participants and I was actually just trying to do the self-view. But what I ended up doing was spotlighting my video. So if you go into participants, you click on a participant. At the bottom, you'll see 3 options: raise hand, rename, spotlight video. And I guess when you spotlight video, then your video stays online.
Aren't you glad that I let you know that?
I was about to pick my nose.
No, you weren't, but anyway. So anyway, thank you very much. It was a lot of fun. This meeting was very well done, Alex and Matthew and Julie and Maria.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bart Eagle.
Hey, hi.
Bart?
Yes, hi. As a host, if I set up the meeting, I assume that I'm the host. But as the host, how do I go about muting or unmuting people or everyone, establishing the breakout sessions, working the waiting room? How do you do that as the host? Because I've invited people on calls, they've come on calls, but I see the exact same buttons on the bottom of my screen that I have in front of me now.
If you just, I would try that, and if you right click, you will see you have more features there.
But right click what? I'm sorry.
On your mouse. So if you, where you think you have all the same features, if you right click, sometimes you have new features, and it's hard for me to answer it specifically to your machine, but you can go to Zoom to their help section, and they have videos on how to host meetings and how to do certain things.
Oh,
and
okay.
I find it very helpful.
Okay, thanks, because I'm on a trackpad, so I can't right click anything.
Yeah.
I don't think.
Ann Dalton. Ann, unmute yourself.
Okay, sorry about that. Thank you very much for this CLE or this presentation. It's wonderful. I've been having a problem creating breakout rooms in advance without sending a message to the participant. How do I do that?
So in the breakout rooms, there's a place where I know in my mind where that message is. It's hard for me to tell you where it is, so you might want to watch that video on breakout rooms, and it'll show you how to do it.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Loretta Gastworth.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm a pretty active mediator, and I'm also a full-time litigator. I have some trouble with the breakout rooms concept. So as a mediator, oftentimes I understand that there are breakout rooms, but there would be times that I need to step out for 5 seconds while the parties and party and lawyer discusses what offer they'd like me to convey. So is it that simple to come in and out and of a meeting room, a separate meeting room?
Yes.
And what assurances do I give lawyers as a lawyer that I'm not part of that discussion?
Which lawyer do you give the assurance to? The one who's not in the room?
The one, so I have a room full, a breakout session with a lawyer and a client.
Yep.
They want to discuss something privately. I want to, and so what assurances do I give them that I'm not in the room, even though I'm controlling these meetings?
They have to trust the technology. They won't see you in the room. So if you're on video, they'll only see 2 video boxes, themselves and their client. They won't see that third box, which is you. So they have to trust that that means that you're not in the room, which you're not.
Okay, and the coming in and out as a mediator, just to clarify something or to convey a quick message, that's easy enough to do?
To convey a quick message, you can chat with them. You can do it that way.
Okay.
If you want to come into the room, Nikki suggested this issue of sending them a text message using a different medium or a WhatsApp, et cetera, to say, can I join you? Because Zoom right now doesn't give you the technology to ask permission. So they think of it as a training platform. So as a trainer, I'm just going to impose myself on the group when I want to for their benefit. But as a mediator, you have different requirements.
Very good. Thank you, and thank you for the lecture today.
If I could just, it's Chuck, if I could interrupt for a sec. Jack Hughes had a question a while ago that was related to a point you were making, and we're now, we're sort of lined up to talk to you. Jack, if you're still on, I know your message came in before people who are now raising their hands. So if you're on, do you want to ask your question? Sorry, okay.
So Michael Cassandra.
Unmute. Hello.
Hello.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. I had to, I lost connection twice on my phone. So I came to my PC, which does not have a camera, right? But so my first question, I have two. The first question.
Actually, I think I see you. Your camera's pointing at you from the bottom.
because I just tried it on the phone and it came on the phone. So I'm now both on the phone and on the screen.
Correct.
So my question is there a rush hour now that's happening with Zoom meetings? So they all happening at like 9:30 in the morning?
Yes. So there is a rush hour, and typically the rush hour is on the hour. So if you want to avoid the rush hour, start your meetings at 9:45, not at 10 or 10:15.
Very good.
And of
Thank
course,
you for that. Thank you for
yeah.
that. There's a more general question I have, which goes to everybody, all of the co-hosts, because it's not specifically on Zoom, which is that I received a message yesterday from New York State that all of the court processes are going by Skype. Has anybody received that? And any comments on that?
I don't have any comments, but I don't know if anyone else does. But one thing I want to point out is Michael's solved this sort of technical issue by connecting to the meeting in two ways. So he couldn't, he was having trouble with his internet connection, so he dialed in, and so his audio is dialed in, but he's also able to then to see it, and Zoom has this ability to connect people. So if you're having bandwidth issues, you can call and also participate on video via your Wi-Fi. So you've just illustrated that.
And thank you very much, Alex.
Yeah.
On Michael's point about what the courts are doing, there's a tremendous amount going on. The courts are really scrambling to try to, they're doing everything they can to physically stay open for emergency issues. And they're kind of working their way through how to deal with the corona isolation. And they have it actually inserts itself when you go to the regular landing page URL for the court system, nycourts.gov. The first thing you're presented with is a collection of information about that, and you also need to check with the particular court that you're asking about, because each of the administrative judges and chief clerks are doing different things, and it changes all the time. So you really have to make a local and immediate inquiry at newyorkcourts.gov.
Thank you.
Wendy Leeson.
Hi there. I just had a quick question about the breakout sessions also. You mentioned that someone could, the video mentioned that the organizer could broadcast, 5 more minutes or 1 more minute into the breakout groups. Can the breakout group communicate to the organizer from within the breakout group to say, we need more time or something like that?
Via chat, I think you can do that.
Okay, thank you.
James Kinney. Unmute.
Yes, good morning again.
Good morning.
Am I correct in thinking your PowerPoint today is stored in Google Docs? Because I see on the top docs.google.
Correct.
It is. And so I'm trying to, I just don't understand how the connection makes, is this as simple as you download Google Docs and it automatically becomes a feature in the Zoom platform? Is that the way it works?
No, you're
For
asking
you?
about how are you able to see my Google presentation on Zoom?
Yes.
Okay. So, by the way, let me go back to the previous question first. I suggest it's just as a best practice that you don't use the feature of giving people in a breakout room a 90-second or a 60-second timer. That's meant for trainers. As a mediator, I would probably want to ask my parties if they're ready to come back and then click them so they are aware that this is happening, rather than just tell them, surprise, you've got 60 seconds to speak and then we're all in the same room. But to answer your question, so the way that it worked was I created my presentation. There's nothing PowerPointy about my presentation at all. I did it all in Google Slides. So there is no PowerPoint. It's just a deck. So it's a Google product, which I created on the cloud using my Google account. I then clicked a button to share that and to project it in Google Docs as a separate screen, like I would on a monitor or a projector. And so then in Zoom, I'm sharing that view of it with everyone. I could share my desktop, I could share something else, but I'm sharing that screen, which is my Google Doc. Does that
Thank
answer
you.
the question?
Yes, very much. Thanks for everything. Great,
Sure.
great presentation.
Barbara Manuso.
Hi, from Houston.
Yeah.
Alex, it was a wonderful presentation. Thank you so much.
Pleasure. Thank you.
But a curiosity, I can see 5 other people besides myself,
Mm-hmm.
and I often have 6 or 8 people in a civil case or more.
Mm-hmm.
And I would want to see all of them, and I would want them to see everybody. Is there a way of expanding the visual?
Yes,
And
that
I
visual.
played around, I couldn't get it to work, so I don't know.
That visual is just yours. So that is unique to how your computer displays your experience of the Zoom session. My experience of the Zoom session is that I see a 5x5 grid, so I see 25 people. And you can change that by going to the upper left, I imagine, at least that's where it is for me. And there are 4 buttons: minimize, show 1, show 2, and show a bunch of squares. Play around with those settings and you will see how it'll shift.
I did, and I wasn't able to bring in more thumbnail sketches.
So the other option is if you go and you look at the lower left and lower right on your screen, you will see little dashes, which suggest that you can click and drag out your screen. And you might want to try doing that. And by shifting that, you will see different numbers of boxes pop up.
Okay, I'll try that. I'm working with a very large Mac screen.
Yep. So you should be able to see it.
But I haven't been able to. I've looked at a couple of those videos.
Oh, so the other part is this. I am currently sharing my deck. So if I were to stop sharing, you would see many more people. I have 2 monitors, so that sharing isn't taking up the room in my computer. The other thing you can do is you can go to individual people and find their videos and you can pin them, which means that you can always see those things statically, no matter what else is happening.
Okay, well, that helps. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Almitra Casper. Unmute. Almitra?
Yeah, I'll do it. There we go.
Thank you. Thank you. I tried to unmute myself, but then it said the host had muted me. Okay. So I just wanted to know how you did the closed captioning again. I have a sign language student that I will be teaching next week, and this might be helpful. I'm not sure.
Yep.
I'd like to know how you did that.
So this is not a Zoom feature. This is a function of the Google Slides. And when I create the Google Slides, there's a button there that says presentation, and that brings me to a different mode than creating the slide. Once I am in presentation mode, maybe I should do this. Let me just see if I can do this. Hang on. Okay, I am now going to share something else. So instead of sharing my presentation, I'm now sharing my screen. So you're probably seeing the icons at the bottom. So now, do you see that little window popped up? So
Yes,
in this
fine.
window, this only happens when I'm in presentation mode. And when I click on captions, now it's starting to work. Can you see that happening as I'm talking? And when I take this off, it just changes it. Is that helpful? Great.
Okay.
Are we ready
It's
for Laura Castor?
Yes, sir.
I think I'm on.
Lou Blanchard, Laura.
You are.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for this. We really appreciate it.
Pleasure.
I did a Zoom mediation on Friday and I had two problems. One was when people drop off accidentally when they're in the breakout room, I did not realize that I had to go back to the main room in order to let them back in again.
Right.
So I just want to give that as a little side tip to people because it can be a distraction at least. The other thing I wanted to know is, can you pre-populate the breakout rooms? I have enough trouble remembering who goes with whom than to have to deal with all of this. I want to maintain my own calm.
Yes.
So I would have loved to try and pre-populate the breakout rooms. But as I understand it, they have to have Zoom accounts. Is that the impediment?
Yes, they have to register. That's free, so they don't have to pay anything. But they have to register with Zoom. So Zoom has to know that these are the people who are going to be joining.
Okay, so it's not like just
these
clicking
people
the
assign
link.
them to these rooms.
So you can't just tell them click the link. You have to ask them to actually sign up for Zoom.
If you want to pre-populate the breakout rooms, you don't. So they can also just go into the meeting and you can take a minute and you can assign them to rooms manually. It'll just take a few seconds once you know how to do it.
Right. Okay. And the other thing is, just for everybody, you can change the name when they call in. All you see is the phone number. And again, that's another thing to keep remembering if you don't know who's associated with the phone number. So as the host, you can change their name and put their name on, which is a big help. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for this.
Lou Blanchard. Lou, unmute.
There we go. Okay, well, it was in reference to Barbara's question. Yeah, but I think you kind of answered it. So if you go to that blue nine dots of blue and click on that, it'll allow you to, or if you go to the bottom corner and hover over the bottom corner, it gives you those little lines, and that allows you to open up the screen and you can see as many people as you want. Problem is, it'll also cover your whole screen. So if you're trying to see something else, you won't see that.
And I recommend having dual monitors to make your life easier if you're going to do Zoom mediations.
Okay.
Looks like Amy Porter is next.
Yep.
Hi, Amy.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Oh, you unmuted me. Okay. Hi. So I have a question about the camera. Let me see if I can put my camera on. Will it let me? Okay, let me see.
I see you.
You see me?
Yep.
Okay. I can't see me. Why can't I see me? Oh, there I am. Okay. So I have a question about this virtual background.
Yes.
See, I'm moving around and it's breaking up.
Yes.
And Elon said something about the reason for that. How do I fix that?
Yeah, you need probably a computer with a more powerful processor.
Oh, so I need to get a new computer.
Yeah.
Run right out.
Yeah. So,
or the other issue is you can, if you want a less expensive option, get a green screen and see if that helps.
oh, that might be the answer, is the green.
That might help. Also, having a white background is more helpful than having a busy background. So what Zoom is doing is it's trying to correct every time it's saying basically, this isn't the one I want to see, so I'm going to fill it with this background. And the easier it is visually for Zoom to work, the less power it has to use. And the more capable the processor, the more it can fix on its own.
So if I got
just put the cat there.
But the what?
Your cat.
My cat, you mean?
Like we don't have enough cat videos.
Yeah. Well, no, but I mean, so if I just got, in other words, if I choose, maybe if I choose a picture that has basically a white background,
Right. Try
then I
that.
have this problem.
Yeah, try it. So if you can change it now, see what happens.
Well, I don't have a whole lot of choices. I mean, I'd have to play around. Like I could do it right now. Let me see.
Yeah.
Choose virtual background. Like I can choose, right? Like if I want to go to the beach.
Yeah. So that actually looks pretty good. Except it is a little, so you don't want to move too much.
Yeah. Well, so I just stay still.
So and so the faster your processor, the more you're allowed to move without it becoming a fake background. And I see Barbara is somewhere in the weeds of the jungle.
She found it.
Right. I even see the waves. Wow, this is fantastic. I just want to stay here, actually. I'm just All right. Thanks. I will check that out. Thank you so much. This has been a great presentation. Hi, Chuck. Hi, everybody.
Hey. I'm not seeing any other raised hands. Does anyone see any raised
Neither
hands?
am I. This may be the end of the line.
Oh, John Hughes
All right.
just raised his hand.
Oh, Jack, you're back.
Two participants I see raise their hands.
And
Trisha raised
yeah.
their hand.
Jack, unmute.
I'm trying. Oh,
I just
there you are.
unmuted you, John.
Hi, Chuck. Hi, everybody. This is a great presentation. It's been so informative. Just to introduce myself, I'm Jack Hughes. I'm the ADR coordinator for the Bronx County Circuits Court. Just have a quick question. What happens if a party brings documents with them that have not been previously exchanged? How can they be shared with all of participants?
When you say brings, you mean brings to the virtual mediation?
Right, so they'd be remote. Say I'm in one room and then they're wherever location they're at, they bring documents that are germane to what's being discussed. How did those documents get shared with the other parties?
Are these documents electronic or are they paper?
Paper.
So you have parties with a stack of papers in a mediation that they want to then share electronically.
Yes.
The way I would do it if I had to is have them take a picture on their phone and then share those pictures. You have to digitize the document somehow, unless you're going to have the person showing a document to the camera, but that's not a really good way of doing it.
Right.
Okay.
If I could just respond really quickly about that. There is for decades, there's been a senior settlement coordinator, Michelle Kern-Rappy at Supreme New York, who has done a little pros and cons memo for members of the New York City Bar Association ADR committee. And in it, she mentions, for some reason, people seem to take, for obvious reasons, people seem to take virtual mediation a little less formally than in-person mediation. And one of her suggestions is remind people early and often, including just prior to the session, that if they have documents they want to share, they need to get them scanned or get some kind of electronic version of them and share them before the meeting happens by email.
Yep.
Okay.
And that
Loretta?
would be in your email.
Loretta?
I also see Michael Graff and Cynthia Boyce raising their hands, but not clicking on the hand raised thing. So I wonder, Michael, if you're frozen or is you just have your hand up the entire time?
I'm not seeing Michael.
I see his picture. I see his picture, and I also see Cynthia raising her hand.
I think
But
Cynthia.
click on the raise hand icon so we can the co-host note calling you.
We have Loretta and Nelson.
And Patricia, there are people waving as well. So yeah, we'll get to you. Okay.
Cynthia's question was, does Skype allow for video conferencing?
Does Skype allow for video conferencing? Yes.
Okay.
But not necessarily the breakout rooms. And then Michael Graff, I think, had his hand up for a long time, and he. So I just want to make sure we don't lose him.
Michael, you may be muted.
Yeah, he's muted. I'll unmute him. Okay, Michael, we can hear you.
Okay, I have two questions. One is.
Oh, Michael, you're literally raising your hand.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm tired too.
That's not how this works. That's not how any of this works.
You're gonna be a real hit.
Two questions. One is how do you lock the room? You mentioned locking the room.
Yep.
The other one is, can the people within the breakout room talk to each other on their Zoom, and without having that that conversation broadcast to the whole array?
Yes. So the answer to your second question is absolutely yes. That's the whole point. Is that's the idea of that breakout, that they're having a private conversation, which is only between the people in that room. And the answer to your first question is, as a host, I can see that on my participant screen, I have an option under more features to do a couple of things, including lock meeting.
I can't see it, but that's why.
Yeah, because you're not the host.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure thing.
Is there anyone in line before Loretta?
Cynthia Boyce, I think, has her hand up.
Not seeing that. Okay.
Let me unmute her. Hi, Cynthia.
Hi, first of all, I agree with everyone. This has been really fantastic, and boy, do I have a lot to learn. The first thing is, I don't see the hand raise. You said I'm supposed to click on the hand raise icon, and I only know how to raise my hand, my real hand, so I don't see that. And the other quick question was, talking about the this, the nice screen that you can have rather than everyone seeing what's in my real life.
Right.
Is that part of, I just have regular Zoom, the free one.
Yeah.
So now I have to get the professional one to do anything. Is that part of the regular, or is that part of the professional?
Free. Anyone, as long as your processor can handle it, you can do this background. You don't have to have a pro account for the background.
Okay, so could you run through that again and the hand raising, and then I will be looking at, sitting down and going through this again to learn as much as I can.
Yeah, so the hand raising is part of your participant bar. You have to make sure that's open to see it, and then you have those choices underneath. As far as the background, it's going to be on your desktop app that you download from Zoom. And
that's the client.
That's the client. Thank you, Chuck. Yes. And I go to Zoom, and you can just type in on their help. They have these video tutorials. Check on backgrounds. I'm sure they have a video tutorial on how to play with the background.
They do.
Great. Thank you so much. This is really fantastic.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Loretta?
Thank you. If I can set up my screen to look like I would set up a mediation table. So if I could put a client with their attorney on one side and the other client with their attorney on the other, so I can visually see who's there.
So you're going beyond Zoom. You're talking about, there is something called Rebella, which is a product I have just played with, which is like Life 2.0. If you remember, they used to have that. It's a virtual world where what you're describing is this virtual experience. Now, maybe Zoom will have it. I've heard the CEO of Zoom talk about sending coffee smells across the Zoom platform, coffee with someone, and experience that. So it wouldn't surprise me that in a few years we're talking about new features, and you have glasses you put on and you see everything virtually. Right now, we're not quite there yet.
Nelson?
Oh, wait, Loretta. Sorry, Loretta had. Sorry, Loretta, you were saying something before.
Oh.
Wait, I'm trying to unmute you, Loretta, but it's not working. Yeah, there we go. Okay.
So I see. Let's say I have 4 people in the room with me, so I can see everybody. So there's no way to move that particular screen to a position.
Correct. Okay. There's no way to visually place people in different boxes.
And they come up. What order do they come up on? How they entered, or
maybe how they entered. I don't actually know what the order is.
It may be when they last spoke.
They also, they seem to shift during the session.
What I would recommend is you can actually rename people. So you can say, for example, P1 for plaintiff 1, or PA for plaintiff's attorney, if that's your convention, and then dash their name.
Okay.
That's visible only to you, not to the others?
No, it's visible to everyone, but everyone knows that that's the plaintiff's attorney.
Okay.
Right.
You tell them that that's how you're using to identify who's who.
Okay.
Okay, Nelson Timken.
Nelson, I unmuted you.
Okay, I just wanted to note that the courts want to use Skype. And the only reason that I've heard is that there are security concerns with Zoom. So they're going to go with Skype.
Yeah, I suspect the security concerns about Zoom are better known because everyone is flocking to it. I understood that Skype has, I mean, this going back years, I understood that Skype was not as robust in the security area, and in fact was late to the game about conferencing.
Well, the thing
But
about
there you
Skype
go.
now-
That's the choice. That's the choice of the court system.
Well, the only thing about Skype now, it's owned by Microsoft.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have Office or you have, any other Microsoft products, I think it's just part of the package. And I think it's just, you have that company behind it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think Patricia had her hand up. Yes, Patricia? Oh, you're speaking. Hold on, let me unmute you. Okay, Patricia, I can
Good
hear you.
morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Patricia DeGuerre from Thornhill, Ontario. Alex, thank you very much for your generosity in putting this over. I heard people mention about the courts and their response. Here in Ontario, what the courts have done is that they have assigned to the participants a direction to go to Courts Call, which is in California, and they set up the whole proceeding. There's a charge of $78, and from there, it's taken care of. They're leery about Zoom and Skype because of security reasons. I'm not sure how effective that is. I know my husband, who's a criminal litigator, had a bail review a couple of days ago using the same mechanism. The other thing, Alex, I noticed that when you had the previous screen about 1.1 consultant.
Yeah, Patricia, can you lower the volume in your speaker? There's feedback.
I'm sorry?
There's feedback. If you can lower the volume of your speaker.
Oh, okay, well, let me move back from it then. Is that any better?
No, but yeah, what's your question? Then we'll mute you.
Okay, my question was, you had 1.1 consultation, and then there was a 50% discount. Is that indicating if we download this session, we have to pay?
No. Those are separate things. You can register and download for free, and if you want a consultation, then you can apply that code.
Thank you.
Yep. Next.
Barbara Manuso is back again.
All right, I'm back. On the business side, across the country, I know all our rates change quite a bit. Are people making it more inexpensive to mediate, or are they bringing the price up? We have one person here in Houston that's made me furious because he's advertising the 250 mediation, and it started off as just $250, and of course got a lot of attention for that, negative I would think in most cases, but now he's being a little bit more vague, and it I think is becoming 250 an hour or so. So it was a hook. But just across the country, I'm curious. I've used, not as sophisticated, but I've done a lot of stuff online for ages. And I just kept my regular rates. But I'm just wondering what other people are doing and how you might think this applies. Because to do this properly and for the sophistication that's going to be needed as we go forward, it's not cheaper. It's actually, it's if you have your own space already, you're actually adding a lot of cost to make sure you've got all the bells and whistles. So what are your thoughts, Alex, and anybody else who wants to offer their wisdom, I'm happy to hear.
My thoughts is that over the long run, I think rates will go down because your fixed expenses will go down. So if you decide to do this virtually, you might not need to renew that office space. And so you'll be able to recoup some of that savings. That's just my personal projection.
Okay, Amy Porter.
I was curious, what is the particular program of Zoom that you're using now? Is it the same program that we can use for mediation, or are you using a webinar version? No. So in other words, the next step up, I think, is something like $16. And everything that you're doing now that you've showed us, is that something that we would be able to do by Zoom and be able to mute people just as you have? And
100%.
And show, so what is the difference, say, between using this type of Zoom program and the webinar, which I understand is something like $40 an hour?
Yeah, a webinar is meant for, and we actually thought about the webinar as an option because of the number of people. A webinar is a different animal, totally not appropriate for mediation. It's for creating something like this training, but for thousands of people. Or if you want to have a panel discussion that has up to 10,000 people, it could be 5,000 or it could be 900. People aren't, you don't have any breakout rooms. You have other capabilities where you can ask people to describe themselves in this poll like we did before the meeting. So before they sign up, they can say, I'm from California and so on. And you can also monetize this. So you can charge for these things via Zoom through a third-party payment platform, but it's not for mediating.
And so is there a way to charge, if you wanted to charge as a private mediator, you would not charge through Zoom, but you would charge through, oh, you can still charge through Zoom?
No, you wouldn't want to charge through Zoom, but as a mediator, there are lots of other platforms, Stripe, Squarespace, PayPal, Venmo for business. There are many platforms that will allow you to actually charge. And the software that I use, for example, is CUNY, which is a calendaring software. And so that allows me to charge people when they book an appointment. So it's seamless.
All right, well, so this is a lot that Zoom can do.
Yeah.
It's not, you didn't need to do a webinar for this.
Correct. Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
It's Chuck. I didn't realize I was on mute after, I can't remember who asked the question. Oh, the woman in Texas, the question about
Barbara Manuso.
charging. Yes, thank you. My view about that is that what we charge our clients should be related to the value of the service rather than what it costs us to do. Internally, we obviously are in this to make a profit, so we want to make sure we're making money. But to me, it hadn't occurred to me until that question, and it was a great question. It hadn't occurred to me to charge anything different for a virtual or an in-person mediation. The truth of the matter is, I tell people all the time that I think virtual mediation is better than no mediation, but not as good as in-person mediation. So, but basically, I think if I'm still offering the service, it wouldn't matter to me, and it wouldn't matter to my pricing whether it was done online or not. I think the next hand. Oh, sorry, Maria.
This will be our last question, so
Yeah.
that we can let Alex have his day.
Yeah.
Amy Hopkins?
Sure. So this is kind of an odd question, but I've had a lot of issue every time that I try and schedule a meeting. As the host, I'm getting a message that's saying that there's a meeting already in progress, and click to end the meeting and start a new meeting. I'm doing that. It's kicking off everybody that was allowed to join before the host. Any ideas around that?
I don't know. Yeah, I know that something happened on the Zoom side. It may be because we scheduled the meeting until 10:30 and it's now past that, and that may be an issue.
Oh, okay. That would make sense.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, Alex, You have been fabulous. I think the response is pretty clear among those who are still with us. Thank you so much. And I think we're going to end this now. Okay?